Hear me now? Yep, perfect. All right. We might make a start, so invite everyone to, I guess, come around this side of the locomotive before we get underway. So good morning everyone, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to the New South Wales Rail Museum this morning. My name is Andrew Moritz and I'm the CEO of Transport Heritage New South Wales. And what a great day today is. I'd firstly like to start by acknowledging that today's event is being held on the traditional lands of the Dharawal people and pay my respects to the elders both past and present. I'd also like to welcome with us this morning our local Member of State Parliament, Mr Nathaniel Smith, Member for Wollondilly, Councillors Susie Brandstatter and Councillor Blair Briggs of Wollondilly Shire Council, Mr John Gerard, Executive General Manager of Asset Safety and Environment from the Transport Asset Holding Entity, representing the CEO of Tahi, Benedict Collin, Transport Heritage New South Wales Board Directors Colin Pursehouse and Ian Shepherd, and Company Secretary Peter Waters, THNSW members, and I know most of you here today are a member or indeed a volunteer or indeed a staff member of Transport Heritage New South Wales. It's great to have you here to celebrate with us the relaunch of Locomotive 3001. Now, I was reliably informed by Ian this morning that today is also a very auspicious date as well, because not only are we relaunching Locomotive 3001, but because today marks 50 years to the day that the steam era ended on the New South Wales Government Railway Network. So it hasn't really ended. We certainly keep it going, but today was the day that marked the end of steam on the main line by the government railways. It's hard to believe, I think, that it's now almost 2 years since many of us gathered at Central Station at the height of COVID pandemic to officially relaunch Locomotive 3801, our flagship mainline steam locomotive. And since its inception in 2014, Transport Heritage New South Wales has repaired and restored a number of former New South Wales Government Rail heritage assets, including steam locomotives 3265, 3526, 3801, 6029, and now 3001. And why do we do this? I can probably ask you as the audience why we do it, but it is because many of us have seen and experienced the joy and excitement our heritage trains bring to communities right across the state, including here on the Loop Line at the New South Wales Rail Museum. And in fact, this financial year, Transport Heritage New South Wales is on target to having its biggest year yet in terms of visitors to the New South Wales Rail Museum and to our Transport Heritage events across New South Wales. The public's appetite for what we do is growing and expanding, and indeed we are very fortunate to be able to share it with so many people. We're also very fortunate to be working closely with the New South Wales Government to deliver significant projects such as the Loop Line upgrade, which will see the upgrade and extension of heritage train experiences here at the New South Wales Rail Museum. And the restoration of 3001 is part of that expansion and will help enable the expansion and much needed fleet capacity to meet the anticipated demand for yet more services and more steam train experiences for the public. So what is it? What's the significance of Locomotive 3001 and what's its background? I'm going to spend just a minute giving you a brief history of the locomotive. And it began life in 1903 as locomotive S636 and looked a little bit smaller to what you see before you today. It formed part of an order by the New South Wales Government Railways for 145 tank engines, originally built by Bayer Peacock and Company in Manchester in the UK for Sydney's expanding suburban rail network, and that was long before electrification. Its first few decades of service saw it often hauling passenger train services in and around the city, including down to the old Milsons Point station on the harbour and long before the construction of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. In the 1920s, as the New South Wales Railways renumbered its ever-expanding fleet and electric trains began replacing steam in the city, S636 became known as 3001, and its career took a whole new life. 3001 was one of 77 engines of its class to be rebuilt as tender locomotives between 1928 and 1933. And it was then redeployed to regional New South Wales, where the rebuilt engines were just as successful as they had been in the Sydney suburbs. For many years, up until as late as 1967, 3001 was a regular performer on the Mudgee Mail, operating some 4 days per week between Mudgee and Wabbegar. In fact, the 30th class was so good at their jobs, many survived in service until 1972. In preservation, 3001 remained a working locomotive operating heritage trains with the then New South Wales Rail Transport Museum, now Transport Heritage New South Wales, up until 1996. I'll talk more about what was involved in the restoration of locomotive 3001 in a moment, but before I do, I'd now like to invite John Garrard, Executive General Manager of Asset Safety and Environment at the Transport Asset Holding Entity, otherwise known as TAHI, to say a few words. And for those of you who are not aware, TAHI is the state-owned corporation responsible for managing New South Wales' extensive portfolio of railway assets. And hidden amongst those assets are the heritage assets that we have the privilege to care for, and that are part of the state collection, which 3001 is an important part. So welcome, John.
Good morning, Andrew. Thank you very much for the kind words. I probably won't be as long and lubrious as the words that Andrew is able to share. But first of all, I'd like to say I'm very honoured to be here and to stand in front of this locomotive that so many people out there who are wearing orange shirts and maybe not wearing orange shirts today, but have spent an immense amount of time to bring this beautiful machine behind us into the position and the condition that it is now, that for the rest of its natural life will probably outlive most of us, that people will be able to enjoy. So thank you very much, first of all, for everyone who was involved in the restoration of this asset. It is fantastic, and I'm so privileged to be here. A little bit about TAHI. Well, first of all, as Andrew alluded to, I'm here representing TAHI, Transport Asset Holding Entity. We've been in existence for a couple of years now within New South Wales, and we have a number of activities that we've been involved in, both involved in restoring, and the flag is going to beat me on those on the left-hand side, so apologies for the flag swinging around. Yeah, we have a wide remit, as Andrew said. So we're involved in rolling stock assets, track work, but we're also in some obscure and probably unexpected areas where we actually look to seek and employ our funds that we have access to. So affordable housing is one of the areas that we will spend money on, and we look to invest in those areas. So one of the particular sites that may be familiar to a lot of rail buffs out there is North Etherley, the old workshops. So North Etherley is going to be converted to affordable housing as part of a remit that TAHI are involved in. But additionally, and more important to the audience that's sitting out in front of me today, we're also involved in heritage. And Andrew and I, 2 weeks ago, Andrew, spent the whole day at Chullora, where some of this collection will be presiding over the next 10 to 20 years, and another significant investment there of $10 million to make sure that this heritage fleet is sustained for prosperity for the family that you have out there, so they can share and enjoy the assets that are available and go on steam journeys and understand their heritage. And there will be more investment in the future, I can assure you. Andrew, I'll probably call it a day there, if that's okay. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for this great asset for those that were involved in it. It's absolutely fantastic, and Tahi look forward to see more opportunity to spend on assets of this type. So again, thank you very much to the audience that were involved in bringing it to bear today. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John, and we certainly look forward to continuing to work with Tahi on maintaining these assets for the people of New South Wales. The restoration of Locomotive 3001 is a key enabler for the Loop Line Upgrade project, a project which will see the expansion of heritage train experiences we offer here at the New South Wales Rail Museum, including the return of heritage trains to Colo Vale. This $14.6 million New South Wales government-funded project has been made possible thanks to the strong support and advocacy of our local Member of Parliament, who I think needs no introduction, but I'll invite Nathaniel Smith to the lectern to say a few words. Thanks, Nathaniel.
Well, thank you, Andrew, and isn't it an exciting day for the Heritage Rail community? This project, the Loop Line, has been a strong passion of mine for the last few years. In 2019, we were able to get $5.5 million to rejuvenate the line. We worked out we needed some more money. I had to kick and elbow and annoy a lot of ministers, but then we've now got the sum total of $14.6 million to rejuvenate that line from Buxton to Colo Vale. It's very exciting, and I don't think people quite realise how spectacular this project's going to be when it's completed. We've heard all the stories about Puffing Billy in Victoria, how it brings in 500,000 tourists a year. Well, all I can say is I want to smash the Victorian numbers, and I want to see hundreds of thousands come here to Wallandilly. And it gives me great pride to be the member of the best museum in the country, no doubt. I know everyone agrees with that here. But we have the largest grouping of heritage steam motor cars than anywhere else in the country. And now we're going to have a fantastic rail experience with it. So I hope we can smash the Victorian numbers and bring more people here. It will help our community, it will help local small businesses in the area, it will help the circular economy, and that's what we're trying to do as a state government. We can't let New South Wales stall. We have to keep moving ahead. We have to keep steaming ahead, pardon the pun. But I also do have some very exciting news today, not only about this beautiful train, the 3001, but we've been doing a lot of lobbying. Myself and Andrew have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and Andrew was only notified a few days ago. The Heritage New South Wales has been awarded $58,000 to develop a business case to get the line from Colo Vale to Mittagong. So obviously there's going to be some more lobbying done by me because it's going to cost several $1 million to get to Mittagong, but we've got the money to do the business case. So while Daniel Page and his team are laying tracks over the next year and getting us to Colo Vale, our eventual goal is to get to Mittagong, and that will complete the loop. So all I can say, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the day, and my usual catch cry, toot toot, all aboard.
Thanks very much, Nathaniel, and indeed we are delighted to have received the funding for undertaking the business case for the missing section of track. That will, as Nathaniel says, take place over probably the next 12 months. We'll pull that business case together and look forward to Nathaniel's support in securing then the funding that would be required to complete the loop line. Okay, we're getting much closer to the moment we've been waiting for, but before I invite Nathaniel to officially cut the ribbon on 3001, I'd like to invite our workshop staff and volunteers who've worked on the restoration of Locomotive 3001 to come forward and stand alongside the locomotive here in front of it. There is a strong tradition in the railways of when a locomotive is launched of getting a photo of all the people who worked on the locomotive. So I invite you all to come up Don't hold back, people. Come on. And while they're making their way to the front, as I said earlier, this is one of several steam locomotives that Transport Heritage New South Wales has proudly returned to service since 2014. The 3001 restoration project involved the repair and installation of a spare 30 class boiler, and this is effectively like putting a brand new engine in an old Holden. It will help keep 3001 going strong for many years to come. The team has gone far beyond though just the boiler. The engine frame has been straightened, the tender tank is new, the buffer beam is new, the engine cylinders and valves have all been overhauled, and the axle boxes, front bogie, motion equipment and tender bogies have been completely overhauled. And you'll also be pleased to know the entire braking system, including the compressors, brake cylinders, rigging and pipework, have all been overhauled. And this will be very important on the loop line because we are operating on some of the steepest track here in New South Wales, both up and then down at the other side. And to top it all off, the engine has been completely repainted, and how fabulous does it look standing before us today. The work that this team behind me does in returning these historic heritage assets to life is truly first class and the envy of the rail heritage industry, both here in Australia and overseas. So I'd now like to invite our local MP, Nathaniel Smith, to congratulate each of the team with a specially branded 3001 cap before officially cutting the ribbon on 3001. So can you please give the whole team behind me a big round of applause. The regular operations here on the loop line, and the first major opportunity the public will have to ride behind Locomotive 3001 is the Thirlmere Festival of Steam, and I know you're all familiar with that event, but it's back bigger and better than ever in 2 weekends' time on the 18th and 19th of March. We're delighted to be working in partnership with Wallandilly Shire Council for that event, and it's certainly growing bigger and its reputation is growing stronger as a result of that partnership. Get on the website and book your tickets, they're selling fast, and indeed I'm expecting we'll enter that weekend completely sold out as we did last year as well. For those of you who've RSVP'd to join us on 3001's inaugural passenger service to Buxton and return, you're reminded to make your way down to the station, which is where the carriages are sitting at the moment, in time for a 12:30 departure. Don't be late, the train will leave you behind. You will have your carriage allocation on your name tag as you came in this morning, so please make your way to the carriage that you've been allocated to. The trip will be about a 40-minute return, and we'll make an announcement here in the museum about 20 minutes prior to departure. In the meantime, you're welcome to enjoy the opportunity to step inside the cab of 3001. You just walk around the other side of the locomotive and up the stairs. It will depart at 12 o'clock and head down to be joined to the train for our journey. And if you miss that opportunity, you can also visit the cab when we return. We've also got refreshments in the tent behind me and a coffee cart available if you'd like a coffee as well. And if you would like a memento of today's event, you can head into the shop on your way out where we have a small range of 3001 merchandise, including caps, which are being modelled behind me here, and mugs, pins, key rings and tie bars for those of you like me who are wearing a tie. So on behalf of Transport Heritage New South Wales, thank you for being here with us today. Enjoy the rest of the day, and let's do a big 3 cheers to the relaunch of 3001. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Thank you all. And now we need to go cut some ribbons. Yes.